She hadn't thought anything of it at first, but occasionally noticed a few strange things. Was her mind playing tricks on her? Was she right to question her sanity? Months had passed with doors opening by themselves, objects moving unexpectedly, and the dog acting strangely in certain rooms. She finally decided that enough was enough and sought help. The warning found her, and the truth that came with it would trouble her. The Harris had found their dream home. Or so they thought. They felt there had to be a catch. They had read the contract over and over again. They had inspected every nook and cranny of the house. They hadn't found anything inappropriate, and nothing had raised their eyebrows. However, you would regret ever going into this house as time passed. Steve and Laura Harris had lived in Buffalo for years, renting an apartment before deciding to take the next step in their life together. They had been married 2 years ago and were thinking of having children shortly. They knew that the apartment didn't have enough space to start a family, so they decided to start looking for an affordable family home. It had taken some time, but finally they heard something. They had found a home in one of upstate New York's finest suburbs that was recently built and affordable. The couple could hardly believe their luck. For months they speculated about the background of their stroke of luck. There had to be a problem considering the house had been on the market for about 2 months. Surely a place like this would have been snapped sooner. There had to be a catch. The couple began to suspect the real estate agent who first spoke to them. He seemed eager as he approached them with several offers to view the house and carefully considered every question and concern they had. Why did it seem like they had mistook the house for the Harrises for months? No other interested parties were named. It felt like the realtor made it their goal for this couple to buy the house. What was the reason? They couldn't seem to find the answer to that question. Perhaps the agent had liked the Harrises and understood their reservations. Maybe he was trying to make their next big step easier. Each time they approached him again, they searched for some hidden motive behind his words, but came away empty-handed. They hadn't found anything suspicious about the contract, the house, or the real estate agent. The two signed the deal without knowing they were committing to the biggest mistake they would ever make. The couple eventually moved into their new home, which they already knew after much viewing. Laura and Steve had spent hours searching for the slightest imperfection to explain the agent's eagerness after they moved in, but everything seemed perfect. Nothing raised suspicion for her anymore, and the couple eventually relaxed. It seemed like they had found the home where they would raise their family. But just a few weeks after they settled in, strange things started happening. It started with little things. Laura had noticed that items had been moved around slightly while she and her husband were at work. Steve and Laura also noticed strange noises while relaxing in the living room. They sounded like coughing and human breathing coming from different places in the house. But there was more. The Harrises had a dog named Otto who acted oddly when in certain parts of the house. It was seemingly out of nowhere, but he barked at random corners, a blank wall, or a specific chair. Laura and Steve initially thought that Otto was still getting used to the new house or that he was fascinated by the special shapes on the walls. They would soon find out that their dog was trying to draw their attention to something that would make their jaws drop. Weeks passed and the strange behavior continued, but they noticed another oddity. When the couple had visitors, the behavior stopped. Family and friends assured them that they were imagining it all. Steve and Laura had reached the point where they were questioning their sanity. Laura had been going to an online forum seeking advice on these strange incidents since they moved there. An alarming reaction made her downright frightened. The respondent had a message that said, "Someone lives in your home." One night, Laura and Steve were reading in bed after a long day at work. Suddenly, they heard the same strange noises. This time, they were clearer and more distinct than ever. There was no mistaking it. You sounded like someone coughing or breathing. The couple stood in silence, paralyzed with fear. What could that be? They opened their ears and tried to identify where these sounds were coming from. Maybe they forgot to turn off the TV in the living room. But the sound didn't come from below. It sounded like it was coming from somewhere above their heads, the attic. But what could be going on there? And suddenly they heard something else that made their blood run cold. A loud bang came from above. Then they heard a voice mumbling and cursing. Now there was no doubt, there was someone in her attic. The couple quickly ran to the kitchen, grabbed some kitchen utensils to defend themselves, and then went to the attic. After climbing the stairs, hearts pounding, they found something that made their stomachs sink to their knees. There was a man in her attic, spinning on the floor and grabbing his knee with both hands. Apparently, he had tripped up with Steve's bike, which he kept there. Laura quickly called the police while Steve made sure the creep couldn't escape. A police car soon arrived at the scene, asked the couple a few questions, and took the man to the nearest police station. Only a few days later, the whole truth was revealed. The creep was actually Harris' neighbor. Shortly after they moved in, he had managed to sneak into the Harris house and make a copy of the keys. And that's not all. He often spent long periods of time in her attic, filming her in her most intimate moments. But there was still a question in the air. How could he have gone undetected for so long? Was the real estate agent involved in any way? To protect the privacy of those depicted, some names, locations, and identifiers have been changed and are the product of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to any actual event or place or person, living or dead, is purely coincidental.